You just found the first junior golf podcast hosted by a junior golfer. This is Distance to the Pin. Today we're talking about an issue with your swing that has nothing to do with mechanics and is often overlooked with junior golfers. Welcome back to the show, Dad.
There are a few things more exciting in golf other than playing than going to get a good fit, taking a look at some new clubs, and seeing if it can optimize your game.
Yes.
So when we're talking about junior golf, I think that parents that are getting started sometimes don't know where to look. And I think the most important thing for junior starting is making sure the club is the right length and, more importantly, the right weight.
Yep.
So grandpa's old clubs in the garage cut down for you are probably going to be too heavy. So US Kids is the first set of clubs that we got for you.
Yes.
And that was based on your height. And they have a good swing weight for your height. And that's how you kind of started to learn how to swing correctly.
Yeah.
So the US Kids golf clubs are kind of the best starter clubs out there because they kind of take all of the guesswork out of it. So we started you on a couple of rounds of those US Kids golf clubs as you got bigger. And as you got faster, they also had a TS series, which were for some of the more competitive players playing more, a little bit heavier. You use those for like 3-4 years.
Yep.
And that was really good. So then as you outgrew those, we got you to your first fitting.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So we went to Kyle Nolan. Shout out Kyle Nolan at Chris Cody's Golf. Kyle's been working with me ever since I started playing, and really getting fit for the right set of clubs is really important, especially with that young golfer who's starting to get competitive, starting to get a little stronger. They might be out racing the US Kids clubs a little bit. So find a fitter, find one you trust, and get a sense of where you're at. The last thing you want to do, even though you see some older kids, they're using the adult type irons, the last thing you want to do is to get your junior golfer into a set of clubs
Too early
that are too
heavy.
In my opinion, too heavy.
Yep.
Because
not necessarily too long, it's too heavy.
Yeah, because
shafts
then
become too stiff.
And then you make swing compensations.
Yep.
John Daly has this big long swing because he used super heavy clubs. Ricky had the same kind of thing where he was really laid off because that's how he learned how to swing. So we really try to take the guesswork out of the equipment, and getting a good fitting is really, really important.
Yes.
So one mistake I made, I'm going to start with today. And you had a great start to the season last year, hitting the ball great. And then we started to see the ball go way to the right. And even on really well-struck shots into the green, we weren't getting anything on it in terms of like holding the green. We were having to aim at the front of the green to get all
just
the
like roll it up. Yeah, like if it was a back pin, we were thinking take 10 yards off it. And
it was super frustrating. So we looked at all the check marks you look at, is your swing having an issue? And we were in the middle of the season at that point, and your miss was off the planet.
Yeah.
And that was frustrating because not only was it way right on a miss, but then there was also the left miss that was coming in.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the season, you can't make a wholesale swing change without really compromising. So we kind of put some Band-Aids on it. We opened up your stance. We definitely know that your swing can come too far from the inside.
Yep.
And it was either you were flipping it over and we were having this crazy overdraw, or you were getting stuck behind and it was going way out to the right.
Yes. Yep.
So I made the mistake of looking at that from a technical standpoint for probably 6 to 8 weeks. And then I said, you know what? One thing we haven't looked at
is the clubs.
Was the clubs. So what do?
We got it checked.
We went to Kyle, and I said, and Kyle, what's great about having a fitter that you work with all the time is they keep all of your information, and he was able to kind of see where John was at, and then we kind of talked to him. He's like, first thing he wanted to know is like, hey, what's going on? And John's like, I'm not holding greens.
Yep.
And on my bad shots, I have a two-way miss, and it's not playable. So we took a look. You were in the Ping Prodigy irons, which is kind of like
the mid.
It's like an intermediate iron.
Yeah.
In comparison to the US Kids and the TS to the US Kids.
Yep.
A little heavier. They worked great for you. You had those for 18 months. And there was my first mistake, is like, you had those clubs for 18 months. You were hitting it great. But if I can look back, and even in some of your really good rounds where you were really competitive and doing well and scoring well, you weren't really coming into greens with the trajectory that I thought you needed. And I was like, well, he's still growing. He doesn't have the swing speed yet.
Yep.
And Kyle took a look at you and 3 swings, and he was like, something's not right with these anymore. Yep. So we checked lie angle. Do you remember what lie angle is?
No.
So lie angle is how you bring the club
into the ball.
Into the ball.
Yep. Now I remember.
So if you're too flat or you're too upright, different things can happen.
Yes. Yep.
So what he does is he draws a little marker on the back of the ball, and he has you swing, and that line on the club face should be right down the center, and it should be perpendicular to the horizontal groove lines on the club. And yours was like this.
Yeah, it was like that.
So your lie angle was
3 degrees off?
It was like 3 degrees off from where it needed to be. So that was problem number 1. And then
problem number 2 is those clubs were light.
You said to me that you couldn't feel the club face anymore.
No, I couldn't. It was like swinging in air. Yeah. Like you take it up and it's just like swinging in air.
And again, me focusing only on technique, I was like, you're doing speed training, you're trying to hit it too hard, slow your tempo down. And it got to the point where you felt like you were swinging in slow motion to make a good swing.
I was swinging in slow motion and it was still going 15 yards to the right.
It's no way to play. We don't know where our miss is. Yep. We had to play for 2 misses, and it's frustrating. So we looked at the Ping Prodigies, and I was like, well, maybe he needs a longer shaft. Maybe he needs this. And Kyle was like, these clubs are just too light for you. So you didn't necessarily grow that much. And a lot of times with junior golfers, we look at height as the kind of indicator of, hey, John grew a couple inches over the summer. We definitely know the shafts need to be different, and go from there. But the swing weight, the weight of the club was like swinging a kid's club for you.
Yeah.
That was a big revelation to me. And then immediately I felt horrible because I didn't think of that. But that's why, even though it's an individual sport, you have a team. You've got your swing coach. You've got your fitter, who's just as important. And we looked at that. But the other problem was that you practiced so much that those wedges, those Ping Prodigies were cooked. No grooves left.
No grooves left.
So we went through, and we're going to get to this later on, because definitely something that a lot of people take for granted, especially at the junior golf level, is the golf ball.
Yep.
And we went through like several iterations of golf balls. And we started you with kind of like the ones that were, for lack of anything else, it was just cheaper. So like, I wasn't blowing $50 on a case of balls and having them for 3 weeks. And what we found was that some of those less expensive balls didn't give you the kind of reactivity on the greens that you needed.
So like, if you're just starting out competitively and you're 9 years old and you're not going to hold a green, you might as well go with like a max fly ball, because you want more distance off the tee.
We started off with the TP5X because that's the ball Rick had, and it was able to spin a lot, but you were losing
25 yards off the tee.
25 yards off the tee, and you were frustrated. And I'm like, you're not as big as some of the other kids you're playing against, et cetera, et cetera. And it really, what it boiled down to is we had to take a look at, was there a ball that was more appropriate for your swing speeds? And we used, shout out to Merit golf balls. We used Merit
a long time.
We used Merit for like a year and a half, and they were based on swing speed. And we found that those were really, really excellent for you. We're going to come back to we could probably spend, for me, I can spend an entire pod talking about the golf ball and the golf ball rollback and how we all hate that. That'll be a whole nother pod. But anyway, so we looked at the ball. We looked at all of these things. We finally got to Kyle, and Kyle's like, he's got to look into some actual adult irons. So you were really excited because you were like, "Oh man, I'm gonna
make Dad blow his budget on the most expensive irons in the market."
Yeah, and somehow, in some way, out of all the clubs that we fitted you for,
I got the newest, most expensive one.
But what Kyle looked at in that fitting is we looked at your launch angle.
Yep.
And how the launch angle is important on how the ball goes up in the air and then how it lands onto the greens.
Yep.
And you were well below what that launch angle needed with your prodigies.
Yes.
So we fixed the launch angle problem with the Titleist 250s.
Yep.
So you got fitted for the Titleist 250s, and we did that fitting in August, and we looked at the fact that these are going to be a touch heavier than you were used to.
When I got them, though, they didn't feel as heavy as I thought they would be.
They weren't heavy, but definitely took some getting used to. Some of the problems, some of the major issues, I would say, with your swing literally were cured by getting you into the right set of clubs.
Yes.
Now, we're going to go into off-season practice and the swing because you were still too far from the inside.
Yep.
And we'll have a whole podcast on how you've worked on getting your path more neutral and what that means. But the new set of clubs kind of highlighted to me how important it is as a parent to look at, even if your kid isn't getting taller per se, he could be getting stronger and faster. Yeah. And you were already at that point doing things with mom, with getting speed training and doing weightlifting. So all of those things contributed to you outgrowing those clubs relatively rapidly. Yeah. And in my mind, probably financially too, I was like, he's going to be in these for at least 2 years. I've got time before we're into the big boy clubs. And that just wasn't the case. So if I could go back and do anything over, I would have looked at doing that kind of check-in with Kyle before the season started. So that's what we did this weekend. And we went in to Kyle.
So we don't recommend it. This is like, you need to do this.
It's
to guarantee your child's best outcome for spring through all the way up to the next spring success.
You guys are, again, parents, if you're just getting into the game, the U.S. Kids Clubs are great.
Yes.
And then hopefully if your kid's really interested and they want to start competing, you have a local coach that you can work with so they can kind of talk to you about what they see in the swing, when they're ready to go for new clubs. And then like when it becomes that point where you're kind of in between that set of adult clubs and are these U.S. Kids Club. And the other one that we didn't use that I know has got really good reviews is the Flynn golf clubs. We didn't really look at those, but I know a lot of players use those too, and I think those are good. So that's another one to look at, and those are junior golf club specified. So I think that's good.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we go to Kyle, and outside of playing, to me, getting a fitting is fun because
getting a fitting is a lot of fun there.
Right.
You get to test out the newest clubs.
Well, you get to test out the newest clubs, but my philosophy in playing golf has always been, I'm trying to make this impossibly complicated game as easy as I can.
Yeah.
And I love all things equipment. You know that I have my own gripper at home. Yeah, I got my own shaft puller at home.
Got the crank.
Well, maybe we'll talk about my bag. We're not going to talk about my bag today. This is about junior golf. Because I have a lot.
The driver that hits the fairway for you.
Well, anything Bryson does, I look into. So yes, I have single length Cobra irons. They're amazing. I use a crank driver, which is amazing. I went to a mini driver this year, which is amazing. Again, this is about junior golf. So
yeah.
But again, that philosophy of trying to improve every aspect that we can control, I'm all about it. So this year, I was like, we've got to go to Kyle in the preseason and just get a look. Yep. And my hopes before we went was I don't have to do anything because the Titleist 250s are amazing. They were definitely an investment. My hopes is that you can grow into new shafts and we can use those heads until
I die.
Well, not till you die, but until maybe you're in your mid-teens. So we went to the fitting and Kyle's got all your information. And the first thing he said was, what have you seen? What have you been working on?
Oh, yeah.
So we talked to him about what you're working on. You're working on path.
Yep.
And the first couple of shots, your path was like 0, which was perfect.
Yeah.
So he looked at a couple of things. He watched you hit a couple of balls. And that's why, again, going to a professional fitter is so important because I've watched you hit thousands of balls. And sometimes when you're so close to it, you don't really see subtle nuances and changes that a professional like that does. So he watched you hit a couple of balls and we were not seeing a wild push, but we were seeing a push cut that it was falling too far to the right for your eye because what type of ball flight do you like to see?
A draw.
So part of the reason why you like to see a draw is that's what you kind of started swinging with your whole life and you have an inside out swing. And with this change in your path, we're seeing a more neutral ball flight, but we're also seeing the ball fall a little bit more to the right than you would like to see. So he looked at lie angle, and what did he find? He found that your lie angle was about 1 degree off from where it needed to be.
Yeah.
So went through the whole fitting. We looked at all the irons, and he determined that we needed to bend your irons up.
Yeah, just a little bit.
What was one thing that you remember about what he said about the lie angle and where you see the biggest change in that? Do you remember?
Or higher lofted clubs.
Higher lofted clubs. So he asked you a question, what's your favorite club? And you said 5-iron.
Yep.
Which I would kill to hit a 5-iron the way you do. I try to avoid hitting 5-iron, which is why Kyle fitted me for a hybrid a couple of years ago. That's another story. But he said, well, that makes sense because the lower the lofted club, the less
the lie angle impacts the ball.
Is. Yeah. So we bent the lie angles 1 degree upright, and what we were seeing was either a very straight ball,
or like a tiny cut,
or at the worst, it was a ball that went straight and fell to the right, or we saw a little baby draw, which is what you wanted to see.
Yeah.
So why don't we go through? Everybody knows you have Titleist 250s.
Yep.
What about your wedges? What do we go with?
Volky wedges, man.
We went with Vokies. I've always been a Callaway guy, and I tried them, and I was like, I really like these. So guess what I did?
You got them.
I got them for myself too. So your lofts for your wedges are what?
52, 56, and a 60.
Right. So we found with obviously getting brand new clean grooves that
it would spin.
Your stopping power on the greens was there, and that kind of solved that approach problem into the greens.
Same with the irons. Like, I'm used to seeing it just go, and it went, oh.
Yeah, it was a very flat, low trajectory that kind of drove into the front, and we, on really, really firm days, we were like, we don't know if we're going to stick this or not. And so getting the new irons and obviously getting clean grooves with the wedges. So that's another point too, that as much as our juniors practice, especially with their wedges, you just got to check those more.
Yep.
So I think our plan is that we're going to check you again
every 6 to 12 months.
He said something that I thought was really interesting. And he said, if you see his 7-iron club head speed consistently over 70 miles an hour, or he grows 2 to 3 inches, that's the time. So I'm going to be watching that a little bit more closely.
All right.
What else is in the bag?
Putter. We got the lab putter.
So the putters. All right. So I got you a lab putter, and I didn't get you a lab putter because they're the latest trend. I didn't get you a lab putter because it was flashy. I have the original DF 2.1. I've had it since the beginning of lab years and years ago. And the technology on that basically allows you to swing the club back and through without any face rotation. So again, mindset there was, let's eliminate variables, let's eliminate any manipulation, and let's just have a nice clean putting stroke. But parents, more importantly, if you're looking at a lab putter and you're looking at the price point and you're saying, this dude is crazy, maybe. But the issue is that if you're having a competitive golfer, you are going through these junior putters that
every
are like
6 months.
that are like $250 a pop at least once a season. So I did the math and I was like,
it's $800 by the end of like 2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years, we're at close to $1,000. And what's nice about the lab putter is
can just reshaft it.
You can reshaft it, and the actual whole reshafting, and even if they have to rebalance the line angle balance of the club, would be less than a junior golfer brand new one. So I kind of bit the bullet and paid a little bit more money initially, and I think it's working out. You love that putter.
I love that putter, yeah.
Yeah. And we also got that at 28.5 inches. So I looked at that, and what's cool about Lab is that you can send them a video and they'll do what's called a remote fitting. And they looked at it, and he had grown an inch or two since he had the putter. And actually the putter was a bit too long for him when I bought it. And now it's like perfect because a couple of his coaches are like, he's got to bend over more when he putts. He's too upright. And this kind of puts you in the right position. So luckily I didn't need to spend any money on that. So I was pumped. What about driver?
So we got the GT2 driver that I wasn't actually fitted for. We got it, what was that, August? You surprised me.
There was some type of issue with the Cobra driver. I don't remember what it was.
I think it was like it just wouldn't go far.
No, it had nothing to do with that. It had nothing to do with that. There was a reason why, and you were in the middle of junior league season, and I used the shafts that Kyle fit you with for you have the GT1 3-wood and GT1 hybrid, and so we got you in the title as GT2.
Actually, I think I know how. So I borrowed your old driver, and I was hitting it way better than the Cobra driver.
Right, I had a TS,
and that's why.
The other thing, like we'll get into golf technology. That's a whole golf technology.
That's a whole number.
Golf technology, golf clubs are outside of talking about golf. Like I could talk equipment and technology all day long.
Yeah.
But having a launch monitor and being able to look at some of the numbers was important. So I let you hit my old TSR, Titleist TSR, which is amazing. Kyle fit me for it, and your numbers were just better.
Like infinitely better. It was like way better.
So we got you into the GT2, and you and I kind of played around with some of the settings and some of the weights. We band-aided everything until the end of the season. But Kyle looked at that too. He changed a couple of settings, and now we got that. We talked about how frustrated you were with driver in particular because you didn't see that right to left ball flight. So what did he kind of tell you about modern day drivers and what to expect with ball flight?
So the modern day drivers, I think it's 99% of tour pros are hitting a cut nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
except
it's
like
because
Rory.
they can control it in the fairway and their spin numbers are around the same every time.
Yeah.
And it's more of controlled shot.
Right. So you were basically, and you did this at the end of the season, and you've certainly done it at home when you've been practicing, and we saw it on TrackMan at the fitting, was that you're lining up straight in your mind's eye. You're thinking you're going to hit a draw, and it is this push cut. Once you aimed appropriately and you played for your ball flight, what did you say?
It was a beautiful little cut back into the center.
It was a predictable ball flight.
It was a predictable ball flight.
And your miss, and I asked Kyle how like wide the fairway was, and it was less than 50 yards.
Yeah, it was 25 yards.
Like you were in first cut, you were never in the woods.
Yeah.
So I'm happy about that because maybe I don't buy a lot of balls this year. Right?
We'll see about that.
So we went through the bag, we went through the fitting, golf ball, right?
Yeah.
So the golf ball, it's not looked at as like an important piece of...
No.
Doesn't necessarily, Pro V1 for your age group doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the right ball for you. So I used a ball fitting website called ballnamic.com.
No, I'm going to have to write that down.
Ballnamic.com. I think it's the guys from Ping who designed it, and it will take your launch monitor numbers and it will make a recommendation on balls for you based on certain characteristics of your ball flight, etc. So it'll ask for some driver numbers, it'll ask for some 7-iron numbers, and then it'll ask you some questions. It'll survey you and say, what's most important to you, like spin around the greens, feel off the putter, distance, etc. And you kind of plug these things in, and based on those launch monitor numbers, they will give you a recommendation of balls. It'll ask you what price point you want to use.
So I could say like 250 and above, and it would give me like this.
No, it'll say like premium golf ball, or it'll say like mid-range golf ball.
So I'd say Bridgestone's pretty premium, if you ask me. Right.
So we took your numbers, and again, having a launch monitor is important for this. And you can go to like one of these simulator places, and Back Nine Social out here in Connecticut's great, and you can go and do that. You can work with your club fitter, and some club fitters will actually do a golf ball fitting. I think a lot of people don't think that's important, but I think it's
because if you have the right clubs, but you're hitting good shots and the ball's just not doing what you want it to do, it's not the clubs. Maybe it's not even yourself. It can be the golf ball too.
It's a hard enough game, and I think the take home today is like we're trying to optimize
everything you can. Yeah.
So took your numbers, I plugged them into Ballnamic, and they made some recommendations, and they recommended the Bridgestone
Tour X.
It was a Tour X, right? So
yeah,
I was surprised by that because that is the same ball that I was fitted for.
Yeah. And
I actually emailed the guys at Ballnamic, and I said, my kid's a junior golfer. He just got fitted for the same ball. And they said based on the numbers, he's like, it doesn't necessarily have to do just with club head speed, etc. So you were using the Bridgestones last year. We'll kind of take a look at your numbers coming up in the next couple of weeks and kind of see if we're going to make a change to the ball.
If eyes do start to grow 2 inches and stuff, we have to check with Kyle and then check the ball again, because if we order them too soon.
Right. I mean, the ball is easy because we can just look at the numbers.
Yeah.
And make a change. And then the other thing is, until we get out on grass again and chip and putt and kind of see how everything's working, it's just kind of hard in a simulator to figure it out. You're just in the middle of a blizzard today.
Yeah.
There's more snow on the ground. But we're trying in the off season just to check all the boxes we can.
Should have brought the flamethrower, dude.
I'm not. Yeah, John wants me to buy a flamethrower to
put hashtag flamethrower in the comments if you want one. Just saying.
You want me to do that to melt all the snow in the driveway?
Yeah.
But anyway, so take home parents is junior golfer specific clubs are really important for the beginners. As your golfer gets more advanced, more intermediate, don't hesitate to go into that fitting, because I think you'll be armed with a lot of knowledge. I think it will eliminate some frustration. And for those parents out there that already are in that competitive junior golfer world, don't make the mistake I did and kind of
wait.
Just look at, I was checking all of the technique boxes, etc., but get a look at that equipment, because until they reach their adult size, I think one of the biggest challenges is keeping them in the right clubs to keep up with their growth patterns. And it's not just height, it's also club head speed. So if that's ramping up,
got to check those boxes, because if one thing's not there, you need, it's like a puzzle, you have to have all pieces.
Yep. And again, once the ball leaves the club face, we have very little control. So my mindset has always been, as much as we can control, we will try to, and equipment's a big part of that. It's also like I love equipment, so
Yeah.
I'm always interested in trying new things. But what else?
So for those parents out there, or even junior golfers, if you feel like you're striking it well and you have like your coach check it and say everything looks fine except for this, you fix it and you're still seeing another miss, don't be afraid to check your equipment. Don't be afraid to go to your parents and be like, hey, could you measure me? Or like, hey, does this seem right or look right? Because if you don't speak up, it could be too late by the time someone finally notices.
Yeah, and I think part of the other problem was when we didn't look at the equipment, your body, you're going to try to figure out a way to
swing it
to optimize those clubs, and doesn't necessarily help us out in the long run. So,
yeah, because once you get older, it's harder to break out of habits you've built for so long.
So Masters is about 45 days away.
Yep.
Looking forward to maybe not seeing snow on the ground in the near future. I'm worried that golf's not going to start till mid-April around here in Connecticut.
Well, don't worry. If we have that flamethrower, it'll be a mid tomorrow.
No, I don't think the golf courses are going to be putting a flamethrower there. But anyway, anything else?
You know what? Why don't we talk about one more thing?
Okay.
What is the number one takeaway you have for today?
My number one takeaway for parents is take a look at the equipment as an important variable to changes in how your child is swinging. Sometimes it's just mechanical, but if we can check the box of, hey, he's in the right clubs, then we can just grind on technique. And I think I would have saved you at least 6 weeks of frustration last summer had I thought about this first. So I think keep equipment in the forefront of your mind when you see changes, because these kids are growing so fast that it's hard to keep up.
Yeah. If you'd like to get your equipment fitted too, you have to go check out Kyle over at Chris Cody's Performance Center and tell him that I sent you guys. If you found this podcast helpful, it would mean the world to me if you took a second to hit that subscribe button so I can continue to make more episodes like this. New episodes drop every Wednesday. Until then, peace.